Hey, welcome back to Project Me, day 72. Today, it's a bit more positive compared to the last video. Today's more about just sort of coming back from that because when I made the other video the other day, let's just say I hate leaving things on a negative note. And it didn't feel great. I hated the fact that, after all that introspection, I couldn't come up with any sort of actionable steps to take to either improve my situation, improve my mindset, or anything else of that nature. I just knew that I felt disappointed and I had no way forward in a way. And I didn't like that at all. My sort of philosophy is I don't need to know, what's coming or what I need to get to. I just need to know what my next step is. And I didn't even have a next step after that. And I felt really quite bad for that. But then I thought back over the last few days. I've been thinking back about it, and as much as it is a little bit ridiculous to compare disappointment to grief, I think they are very related to each other. I think disappointment is grief, just in a much more mellowed down, much more diluted, and not as serious of a nature. And so I don't think it's an unfair comparison to say to be disappointed is to then have to grieve, excuse me. But and how do you live with grief? How do you get over grief? How do you move on? You just sort of live with it, right? You just have to accept it and move on. And I suppose that's what I have to do as well. I just have to accept the disappointment and move on. The root causes of the disappointment aren't going away. They're going to persevere, they're going to stay. Nothing's able to change. And as much as it does hurt, it's just the way it is. So I can either wallow in the disappointment and let it dominate my life, or I can choose to react a different way and just carry on. The situation causing disappointment won't stop, so why should I? Right? It's sort of a challenge, And it does remind me a little bit of Albert Camus's sort of existentialist philosophy. You have to imagine Sisyphus happy, and that sort of stuff. And I quite like that, And again, it also ties into I think there's a lot of problems with the modern Stoicism movement, but I also think the foundational pieces of thought are very, very wise. And I very much agree with, for example, Marcus Aurelius when he said, why are you angry? As if the world owes you anything. You can only really control your reaction. And I like that. I think it's true. And it's a very good way to live a life. Just being aware of the only things that you can control. Yeah. And I can only control my acceptance of grief or disappointment and how I move on, how I take the next step. So I'm choosing to make my next step acceptance, and after acceptance, positivity again. Even though my party is lacking, perhaps, or my get together is lacking the 3 or 4 people who in the world I most want to be there, there'll be other people I want to be there. And that's good. That's enough. Could always be better, maybe, but it's enough. And I have to get that through my thick skull. I've got to knock some sense into here. But that's where I'm at with it. I'm a lot more satisfied and content with this line of thought than I was the other day when I made that video. I was really quite disappointed and hurt. It's not to say I'm not now, but I'm much more willing to give that hurt and that disappointment and that grief some space in here, which is good. I think it's healthy more than anything else, and I'm really quite glad to have come to this line of thinking. I should also mention that day, Wednesday, when I made that video, I didn't mention it in the video, I don't think, but that morning I had greatly inconvenienced myself in terms of organising my schedule, to pick up a friend from the train station. She was scheduled to arrive early that morning. I intended to surprise her and pick her up there. She changed the date of her arrival, so not only did she not come, I was sort of left stranded there waiting for her to come, which is not her fault, right? It was a surprise. She had no idea. Unfortunately, she just didn't open my message and didn't respond to me at all. So I had no way of knowing that she had changed her time. It was just unfortunate, but it wasn't a great feeling. So drastically inconveniencing myself to show up, only for nothing to happen. But it's funny in hindsight. I would do it again. I think if there was a chance to surprise her, I'd do it again. It's not going to hold me back in the future, but it was a little bit disappointing. In any case, I don't think I have anything else to say. Pretty short video today. I'm again just content that we've sort of got these next steps planned out. The emotion isn't going away, and that's okay. Just learning to live with it and process it. Yeah. I'd also like to mention, just on a positive note, before we end this, that we've been really lucky to have so many beautiful days the last week or so. It's normally it's winter at this point of time here, although I suppose maybe it's closer to spring. But normally it's windy, very cloudy, wet, rainy. But the last week has just been phenomenal. Clear blue skies, not a cloud in sight, just a light breeze. It's been absolutely gorgeous, and so lucky for that. And in fact, the other day I woke up early to get to the gym, and there was this beautiful thin grey veil of mist that clung to the air, and it sort of surrounded the rugged hills and the jagged towers that is my city. And it was just so beautiful. And I remember thinking to myself, how I hope this mist isn't smog or pollution, because I would hate for terrible things to be beautiful. And it was just gorgeous. I loved it. So nice. But anyways, we'll leave it there. I hope you guys are all doing really well. I hope you've all had a fantastic week, and the weekend's coming, if it hasn't already arrived to you like it has for me. All the best. Cheers.